So yeah, so what I was saying about the Whopper, right? If you've ever watched the movie War Games, of course the Whopper, right, is a, well, I don't know exactly where he is, but basically he's a computer, right, who's designed to manage nuclear weapons. I think it's to do with NASA. This is just a movie, of course, but movies are very good educational symbolisms, right? So this Whopper, I thought it stands for something, right? It's not Whopper like you eat at a Burger King. I'm not talking about Burger King or Hungry Jack's, which it used to be called in Australia. I'm referring to a fictitious again, it's another machine. It's another AI type machine. It's an expert system basically. And expert systems are designed to purely operate within a certain domain. So when we're talking a self-guided photocopier, we're talking an expert system. All it can do, it's designed to, it wants to do is run a copier system that can take orders from humans and then translate it into actions. That's what an expert system. We have expert systems already being developed or have been developed. So an expert system is not designed to work outside its domain. It's a very narrow band field. It's very good at what it does. It's got everything packed in so intensely, but it's not designed to do. But a computer, like a desktop, is what we would call, I guess. I don't know the exact terminology, but it's open-ended. It does all sorts of things. I mean, copiers are multifunctional, but that's still a fairly narrow band. But if you look at a computer, or a tablet or a phone, you can download all kinds of crazy apps. It requires a lot of knowledge, typically about network and about, it's an learning curve, put it that way. And trying to get things to work, and you get problems with your desktop fouls up. You get mistake errors that you just can't work out why. It doesn't make sense, and you seem to be chasing your tail trying to find. So when I'm on a copier, it's a case of you're learning like that. But when you look at a computer, it's way outside your normal depth. It's like, wow, you've got like millions of possibilities, but most people have done courses. Well, most nerds can study, and I'm not discounting the value of study, but it's not for everybody, and too many times I think neurotypicals rely too heavily on study, because a lot of the time when you're learning, you can't always rely on a book or someone to teach you. Now, that's the thing. I've got to say that, like, geeks are good at teaching themselves. You've got to find yourself the thing that you both like and you can do, and you've got to find the correct subset. Like, for example, again, I keep tangentizing. It feels like we're talking to, I don't know, Wikipedia. It's annoying. Wikipedia, little blue hyperlinks. You look up a subject and then you go, oh, there's a hyperlink saying, oh, yeah, go here. Oh, bum. Yeah. Hyperlink. Ah, hyperlink. Not very fun to talk to a person that keeps hyperlinking all the time. Let's just get back on the original subject, the Whopper. Okay, the definition. The Whopper is an expert system. It's designed to do an unfortunate task, which really, if only we didn't need these bleeding weapons, right? Now that's where technology is being put into as well, by the way, while we're not on the game. All right. So the Whopper is a military application. If you look at his hardware, he looks like he's an oblong shape, and he's got little lights flashing on him, and yeah, sort of looks a bit like a photocopier, I suppose, without paper trays and that. But he's an oblong shape. He's got little flashing lights. The movie, I think, was released in 1984. Very old. And there was this little kid, right? This was back in the early days. You geeks would probably find this really exciting because they had, very limited stuff like internet or some kind of hookups. Well, this kid, right, he was playing a game. Well, no, he was looking for a game, right? And there was some kind of online game, but he was expecting to hook into actually a gaming machine, a games computer that was meant to be about, but for some reason, war games. He thought this thing was an actual games computer, but what he actually, I don't know if it was a hack or if it was he was just being innocent or something, but whatever it was, he didn't mean to do this. But he accidentally connects with or hacks into, I don't know, I can't remember. You can watch it on YouTube, of course. So he connects with this computer, right? He doesn't know what it is. He thinks it is just a game purely a war game, just a game, like any game that you play, but more primitive. And then he'd go in, and then he goes in, and the machine, he somehow logs onto the machine and says, and the machine says, "Do you want to play a game?" In that machine voice, that synthetic voice. Oh, that's a really cool sound. So he doesn't know what he's getting into, right? So he's basically, and then of course he types into his primitive little computer, thermonuclear war, da-di-da-di-da, like he's like, global, like the worst thing he typed into was global thermonuclear war. He didn't know that this was a real computer that was designed to dispatch missiles at a certain threat. And of course, this machine has 5 levels of DEFCON. Now, I'm not an expert on DEFCON. I'm actually quite not too bad with general knowledge, but I can't get into everything too in depth here. But DEFCON is to do with, the amount of, the alert stage. Like, I think DEFCON 5, if I'm correct, I don't know for sure whether it's the other way around. DEFCON 5, I think, is the lowest level where where there's not going to be, there's no threat. But DEFCON 1 is when the machine will get ready to let off its missiles, and it'll start the sequence, right? It'll start the countdown, and it's really scary. And this movie, right, involves the machine called the Whopper. Something to do with war operations, whatever, I can't remember. Just watch the movie maybe, or watch the trailer, I don't know. So this machine's an expert system, but unfortunately this expert system someone shouldn't have played with that expert system. And of course expert systems are limited in their knowledge and their abilities. So if the Whopper was actually a living entity, well, the Whopper would have a hard time getting around on this thing, I think. But the Whopper was tampered with online, and the boy had to somehow work out how to stop this machine from letting off these bombs or the missiles, and so what he had to do then was he had to somehow get to where I think it was NASA or something, and then he had to basically get in there, and he had to get the computer to behave like something that it's not normally used to. So the Whopper ended up playing what we call, I think, tic-tac-toe is what it was called. I think it's noughts and crosses in Australian parlance. So here we go. We've got the Whopper playing tic-tac-toe. So he learns that war is not worth it, right? This is a losing game. So tic-tac-toe is basically, apparently, it's a stupid game. Zero cross. And here we go. He's got big, huge screens up on there, right? And you can see all these bloody noughts and crosses going off. And the little geek boy, he's only a boy, he's saying, learn. He's basically he's just grinding at I don't know if the Whopper could actually hear him, but he was basically saying, learn, damn it, learn. So the Whopper's trying to learn something out of its domain. And the thing that's really funny is that the Whopper has actually is throwing his sparks. You see sparks throwing off its hardware. Because it's actually overloading because it's not doing a task it's designed for. It's playing bloody tic-tac-toe, for crying out loud, so it can reverse the sequence, the countdown sequence, so it won't nuke off the world. But the thing is, it seems like it's too late, and I don't know whether the tic-tac-toe came first or after. I think it came after. Yeah, it came after, so what happens, you get the screens, and up comes the usual screens that come up, and you can see all these cool things of the thermonuclear war, and they think it's all going to happen. And it's like, you can see all these bloody lines jumping around all on the screens. It's like, whoa. And then, of course, everyone's shitting themselves or, crapping themselves. And then they're like, uh-oh, this is the end of mankind. Uh-oh. They played with this poor kid, just innocently. So the kid has to basically tell this machine to somehow, and he does it. He succeeds. So what happens, the machine ends up, it stops the countdown, and then it's like, in his synthesized voice, he then blurts out the message about, that this war is a stupid game, and it is truth. That machine in the movie is telling the truth, is saying, because war and fighting is not worth it. But anyway, getting back to the expert system thing, well, we then say that if an expert system can actually learn something outside its usual domain, it has to, in that sort of emergency, well, it's not going to have a very easy time, and it's going to, as I said, it's going to blow, parts of its circuitry are going to blow, and it's overloading. It's kind of amusing, but it's not funny when it's actually going on here. So here I am trying to work on this machine, and like the Whopper, this is a whopping big domain for me to work. This is not what I'm designed for. A normal geek does this beautifully. Like, as I said, I can't even do the physical tasks. Even if I work in a disabled workshop, which I have, because I can't do physical jobs and I can't do learning jobs. But as an entertainer and a photocopier artist, and if I learn like a bloody blasted machine. I learn like a machine. It's slow, it's cumbersome. So I'm very smart, I'm very cluey, but I learn like a machine. I'm the closest thing you'd have to a living android. It's interesting, but it's been a perplexing bloody ride all my life, wondering who the hell am I? What is this stuff? You know, why am I like this? Why is it I can get certain things, but I can't get other things? Why is it? So basically, getting back to the issue of choosing your job or your interest, you got to choose an interest, right? That satisfies your interest, your desires. You know, if you love something, but you've also got to be good at it. But the thing is, normally they do go together. The only problem is you've got to find the right subset. So when you're talking about an interest in photocopiers, I could want to do the whole kit of photocopiers, right? But I can't. So I couldn't be a technician. But the thing is, that's the thing, you've got to find the subset. So you could have different layers of photocopier careers, which we don't have access to now. You might have, say, a photocopier operator, which I tried, working in a bureau. Then you might be a technician. Then there might be a salesperson. Then there could be different types. You've got the more software-oriented types. I think systems, it's got more complicated. And then you move up the layer, and you could go to R&D, and you know, so you've got to find. Well, for my fit at the moment, I'm just a copier artist, and I'm just the closest thing to a human expert system. Okay. So therefore, I'm very hooked up to copiers, and Luigi thinks it's very, very endearing. But he finds it's a very hard domain to control, because I can spit the dummy, I can rage out, I can get very angry and very, very, very cranky when things don't go, you know, to plan. I've actually recorded some of my explosive meltdowns, and crack. But basically, I know Luigi will think it's cute because he's going to have to manage me like a little device. You know, he's going to have to manage me. He's going to have to keep tabs on me, and he thinks this is cute because, again, it translates into, here we go, we're becoming a bit Wikipedia-like, aren't we? But basically, I'm hoping to leave this domain, this house, soon. Actually, I think my departure message is still uploading because I had problems with my webcam earlier on. That's an example. Disconnections on the internet, disconnections with my Wi-Fi device, you know, to pick up the signal to this primitive old Dell computer, right? Then I had to make, you know, of course, hooking up the big. The thing is, but I've done very well, you know, considering I'm basically the Whopper playing noughts and crosses. That's not bad effort. The thing is, when you've got a disability like that, if you can, the old saying is, it's like, you know, you can only do your best. I think I remember that as a child. If you've got a disability and you're running in a race that's a bit hard for you, it's called a handicap. Horse racing, you know, the weights on one horse with a weight, one horse without a weight, equally matched. The horse without a weight is expected more likely statistically to lose. Good with stats. But then of course, if the horse with the heavy weight, actually, which happens sometimes, but not often, means, of course, the dividend of winning is, of course, higher. And they call it a handicap. And that's what I'm basically doing, is I'm running in a race where I'm carrying about the equivalent of 100 kilos on my back. Normal people got it easy because they're not only good at learning and stuff and adaptable, like in this sort of field, though they're mediocre, but they've also got friends and crowdsourcing, which I've got none at the moment. So I did get some help with father, just sporadic help here and there, but it's like piddle here, piddle there. You're not going to learn. But Luigi wants to teach me the technician trade, and I want to I want to refurbish photocopiers as a weekend activity, you know, for nothing. So there you go, you know. But anyway, I've got to can this, but I'm hoping to leave soon, and I wish you all very muchly a good time. But I can only do my best. Disabled people only do their best. Goodbye.